to all, I do want to dive into the practice of some Japa meditation. So I hope that you have some Japa mala beads to hand. Just to be clear about the terminology, because sometimes there's confusion around this. So these beads are known as mala beads. Japa, the word japa, which is a Sanskrit word, literally means to repeat. So when we do japa meditation, what we're doing is we are repeating over and over again a particular mantra. And the word mantra, another Sanskrit word, means to cross over or to move across. And so what a mantra does is it moves us from one state of mind, one state of being, into another. And it connects us with the more spiritual side of ourselves. So you can use any mantra that feels aligned and appropriate for you. You can use English words as a mantra. For example, you could use kind of like an affirmation. You might say something like, may I be happy, may I be well, may all beings be happy, may all beings be well. May I be happy, may I be well, may all beings be happy, may all beings be well. May I be happy, may I be well, may all beings be happy, may all beings be well. And this would be a beautiful mantra that you could recite over and over again as you do your japa meditation. And some people will feel more comfortable using an English mantra or an English affirmation because it's more familiar, like it's a language that we know. And if we think about raised Catholic, we'll have probably done the Hail Mary on the rosary beads. Very, very similar idea. Again, it's an affirmation, a reminding, a crossing of the mind from one place to another more spiritually enlightened place as we repeat the mantra, as we repeat the phrase. And there are many other traditions all over the world that also use this type of practice, often using beads to do meditation, to change or alter our state of consciousness. So it's certainly not unique to yogic tradition or, to even Eastern traditions. Now, the mantra that I'm going to recommend that we use today is Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. And that's a mantra that literally translates as, may all beings everywhere be happy and free. May the thoughts, the words, and the actions of my own freedom for all. It's obviously a Sanskrit mantra, Sanskrit being the ancient Indian language. And the reason I love it, there's a couple of reasons. One is it's non-religious. So it doesn't have a particular deity or a particular version of God or name of God that is mentioned. In fact, it doesn't even mention God at all. It's really a prayer. It's a request. It's a invocation for peace on earth, for happiness for all beings, and that our own lives could be a contribution to that in whatever way is possible for us, in whatever time or opportunity is made available to us. And so I love this mantra because anyone from any tradition, from any background, from any religion, usually feels very comfortable with it. It's not confronting in any way. It doesn't contradict anything that anyone else might have been taught. It certainly would be in alignment with the values of Christianity. The other reason I really love it is because it's a very beautiful rhythmic mantra. Once we start chanting it in Sanskrit, you'll see it's quite easy to learn and the rhythm is quite easy to follow. And so we get this real kind of almost like hypnotic cadence that happens with the mantra. And that's part of the practice of japa meditation. So what you want to do is you're really looking to find a rhythm, like a deep kind of resonant, almost melodic, almost like a song, although we're not singing, rhythm as you repeat the mantra. And it literally takes you into another portal, into another mental space. So it's not about, as you're chanting the mantra, thinking about what the words mean. It's not that you're meant to be kind of in meditation. I mean, you could, this would be a beautiful thing to do, to contemplate the meaning of the words, but it's not really the purpose. The purpose is to allow the mind to rest, take over, almost like waves washing up upon the shore, of the ocean, just like gently lapping in and out, in and out, in and out. And as we recite the mantra over and over again, what we notice is the mind starts to become quiet. it starts to become more still and more peaceful. And the magic of the japa practice, or the promise of the japa practice, is that the meaning of the mantra as you recite it will reveal itself to you. So you don't need to consciously be thinking about what the mantra means. As you chant over and over and over again, the meaning of the mantra will become alive in you, and you'll be reminded. And there's a little bit of magic and mystery to this. So this isn't necessarily the most logical part of the teachings. This is more the esoteric part of the teachings, that the meaning of the mantra will reveal itself to you. In my own personal practice, I've been practicing japa, is the Hare Krishna mantra, which is a little more complicated and specific to the deity of Krishna. So I'm not going to work with that one today, but you know, it's a beautiful mantra. I mention it in the book, the Trust Life, Trust Yourself, Find Peace book, which I have written. And it's really, yeah, it's a potent and powerful mantra that I can honestly say, hand on heart, has transformed my life. So if you want to go deeper into this practice, I definitely recommend what's known as the Maha mantra, or the Hare Krishna mantra, to be something you could consider trying. But a really good entry level or beginners level mantra is Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. And as I said before, if even that feels a little bit out there for you, you could definitely start with an English affirmation. So it's very much up to us to take the practice and to make it work for us. There are no hard and fast rules that we have to do something a certain way, but I'm going to share with you relations. Of course, you absolutely can. In Hare Krishna tradition, which is where I've mostly been practicing and learning japa myself over the last couple of decades, traditionally we practice 16 rounds a day. Now that's approximately a 2-hour meditation practice. Personally, at this point in my life, I don't do that much because I don't have the time and the capacity. I've got a lot of children, a lot of busyness in my life, but I do this practice most days, japa meditation. It's a bit of a non-negotiable practice for me. It's one that I call it a trusted practice. Like, it's one that I come back to time and time again. So even if I don't have time to do meditation, or I don't have time to, if I don't have time to do asana, physical yoga practice, or I don't have time to do other practices, I always find some time for this japa meditation. And the beautiful thing about it is it's really adaptable. So you could do it in bed, you can do it on the bus, you can do it, you know, a very flexible practice. There's an option to do it out loud or to do it silently within your own head. So if you're not in a place where it's comfortable or easy for you to chant out loud, you can definitely do it as an internal practice, and that's really beautiful as well. I can tell you that when I was giving birth to my babies, one of the things that helped me get through the pain of childbirth was japa recitation, like repeating my mantra over and over again and bringing me back, anchoring me back to that beautiful sacred space that is created through meditation practice. So the mala beads that we use are 108 beads on the string. And as I said before, you know, traditionally in the practice that I've been taught in, we would do 16 rounds a day, which is 108 times 16, takes a couple of hours. A good place to start is 1 round a day. So please don't feel like little and often is better than a really big long. Do 1 round daily and consistently, than, you know, a bigger block of practice but then kind of not doing it and kind of dipping in and out like that. The consistency is where the magic arises. In fact, my dear teacher Sharon Gannon says, through repetition the magic is forced to arise. Through repetition the magic is forced to arise. So when we do something over and over again, we have this experience of the magic, the alchemy, the transformational qualities of the practice kind of bubbling up. And we have to do consistent practice for that to really work. Good mala beads will have a knot in between each bead so that they don't easily break. So you don't want to, I mean, there's lots made these days that are kind of made for jewelry purposes, or for, you know, like they look really pretty, but actually for actual meditation practice, there's a few things you want. You don't want beads that move around as you work through them. You want the knot in between each one. You want them to be pretty strong. As your fingers are moving through the beads and counting off the mantras, you don't have like one is a pearl and one is a glass bead and one is wooden, because it feels different in terms of the sensory experience of your hands, and that will impact the meditation practice. You want it to feel the same. You want to have a feeling of consistency. Wood is really beautiful. I have Tulsi mala, which is a really lovely one, and they last a long time. And then the tassel at the end, or sometimes you just have a big bead at the end, is what's known as the Krishna bead, or the Krishna point, or the Guru point in the malas. And that, what that is it tells you that you've done a full round. So it means you've done 108. So you start just one bead on from the tassel, you move through the beads with your thumb and your third finger, and then when you get all the way around, you get to the tassel. And then we don't cross over the tassel with our hands, because Krishna, we actually flip the mala around and go back the other way. So when you get to the end, you don't cross, you just flip and go back. Now, when you first start doing this style of meditation practice, it will feel quite clumsy and awkward. Like you'll feel your fingers will be kind of fumbly, and it doesn't feel that easy, and it can kind of take a little bit of time to get into the rhythm. But if you do one round of 108 every day, after about 4 or 5 days, you'll get the hang of it, and you'll feel your hands will feel like they know what they're doing. So just bear with it a little bit. We don't use the index finger when we're using the hand to move the mala beads. The index finger in traditional Hindu culture represents the ego. It's the finger that we use to tell people off, like our pointer finger. So we keep that hidden. There's 2 different ways of doing that. You can either stretch it out and just keep it to the side, kind of stretched out, or you can do what I do, which is to tuck it under the thumb and just keep it tucked away. So you surrender the ego to the will of the divine. So then we use the thumb and the third finger to move the beads, which again, most of us are used to using our index finger more. So the third finger might be a little bit less dexterous, but through time and practice, you'll get the hang of it. As you move the beads through your hand, you want to pull the beads towards you. So it's like you're calling the divine in towards your heart, rather than, you don't push the beads away, because that has the energetic quality of pushing something away. We want to be doing the opposite. We want to be energetically calling something in. So we pull the beads in towards us, and this has the quality of calling God, calling the divine source, the universe, in towards our hearts as we move through bead by bead. So that's the basics. Let's do some practice together. We'll take a practice of a whole round of the mala beads, 108. You can do it out loud, whatever works for you. Just listening, absorbing, and practicing working through bead by bead. And if you find at some point that you drop your malas, or your beads get, in a tangle, or you lose your rhythm, it's totally fine. Just you might need to gently open your eyes, just come back to where you think you were, and keep going. There's no judgment. Doesn't matter if you make a mistake. We just keep going. One last thing I didn't say about the mala is also, we tend not to wear them as jewelry, or kind of just leave them lying around. I have a special mala bag that I keep my mala in. They're seen as a sacred object. They're a sacred, holy object. So try not to put your mala on the floor. Don't just wear it as a necklace. You might want to keep it on your altar. I keep my mala in my bedroom on my altar, and then I have another one that I keep in the house, so that I can, if I have a moment to practice, in the lounge room, or special. Like, I don't let the kids play with them. They're a sacred, special, holy object. Okay, so taking your mala beads, thumb on top, we're pulling the beads towards us. We're starting one bead away from the guru bead. We begin the practice of Japa meditation using a beautiful ancient Sanskrit mantra, the meaning of which is, may all beings everywhere be happy and free. May the thoughts, the words, and the actions of my own life contribute in some way to that happiness and to that freedom for all. We'll take 108 rounds. And as we do so, just allow the meditative quality of this mantra to wash over you like waves from the ocean. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. 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 Loka bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino 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 bhavantu. Sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta 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 sukhino. Taking a couple of deeper breaths. perhaps experiencing the feeling of expansion through the heart, maybe even through the point between the eyebrows, the third eye point, Ajna chakra.